Nope.
No. Okay. Good. Excellent.
There. The stream has started. And, there we go. This is the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus, a.k.a. Shut Your Trap. Joining me, as always, halfway across the world, is Jared Morgan.
Hello, everyone. How you going?
Well, I know I'm doing okay, and, I don't know.
Good.
It's for me, it's the day after Christmas. For you, it's second day after Christmas, yeah?
That's right. We've had an extra day to recover from the excess amount of food that we had on Christmas Day. What was on the spread for Christmas Day for you?
Christmas Day, a trip to Carl's Jr. for some burgers.
Carl's Jr.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess you guys all pop your Christmas cherry around Thanksgiving. You go full turkey on Thanksgiving over there, whereas everywhere else we usually do Christmas Day as the day that we get our excessive amounts of food on. So
yeah, and I'm not big on that food anyway. So
really
I don't
like
make it, and we don't go anywhere on Christmas Day. So
yeah, right.
That's right, Craig. Nothing does say Christmas like burgers. I completely agree.
Exactly right. The festive burgers.
Well, it was that or the Del Taco, and the family decided that they'd rather have burgers. So
Carl's Jr. is good. It's probably not the same as the Carl's Jr. we have here in Australia, because we do have it here, of course.
Really?
Because everything America comes over here. But yeah, the California burgers are pretty nice.
Interesting.
I
wouldn't have
we could
known
do a
that.
compare and contrast.
Well,
we can do a compare and contrast on Carl's Jr. because part of a core tenet of the show is snacks. So
at one time, that was definitely a core tenet of the show.
Absolutely.
So, folks, you're going to notice, hey, look at that. There's, little words coming down the side of the screen here. And we need your input today. Today is a absolute free-for-all. We have no clue what we want to talk about. It's going to be a hodgepodge of anything. So if you guys have questions, if you guys have comments, if you want to bring up a topic, we're more than happy to jump onto it. We just want to come on and do an episode where we weren't tied down to pinball.
Well, that's right, because, we talk about pinball a lot, obviously, because, it's what we do here at the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. But, sometimes, you just want to have a bit of a fireside chat. And
Jared was a little sick of talking about cabinets.
I really was a little bit sick about talking about cabinets because, the thing that's really bothering me at the moment, Chris, is just everything seems to be trickle-fed with the cabinets, right? And I'm just getting a little bit done with it.
That being said, Craig here says, seen some YouTube videos about the Marvel cabs and the Star Wars cabs. So I'm just going to point this out. We'll get this out of the way really quick.
Mm-hmm.
First things first. Turns out none of the Pinball Arcade or the Pinball Arcade. The one-up pinball cabs, they didn't go in the drink. They were just delayed on the boat. What did go into the drink was their Outrun cabinets.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Ruins a few people's Christmases there.
Definitely.
2, if you weren't already aware, there has been 2 different unboxing videos. One done by Doug over at Cool Toy. He unboxed the Marble Cab, put together a really slick-looking video, especially for the review. I mean, like, really slick. You should check it out.
Yeah, proper.
And then Retro Ralph and Justin doing their one-up weekly. Ralph had the Star Wars cab sent to him. And he assembled that whole thing and also put together a review. So if you guys are really wanting to see these things more in action, unfortunately, it was kind of the things that we wanted to do with Mel here live that we were hoping to do.
Yeah. So that idea is scrapped for now. But it's one of those things. Like we get why it happened. They've got a lot more followers than we do.
Yeah, there's
and
a slight,
it's all about numbers.
Slight subscriber disparity. So, folks, if you want us to be the first to get the kind of content, please subscribe.
Subscribe and kick that bell. Ding, ding,
oh my
ding.
God, I hate
like
doing
they always
that.
say.
I really hate. We'll allow it this particular podcast, but
only this time.
Seriously,
yeah.
We've been trying to do everything we can to give you guys more content and to do something. And those of you that actually watch our full-length episodes, we've mentioned it before. A lot of you are subscribers, but the more subscribers that we get, the more opportunities that we'll have to, not be down the list of people that would get this opportunity, but up near the top. So, but yeah, I'd definitely check out both those YouTube channels for those videos, because they're going to show you pretty much everything that you were hoping to see, other than what we would mostly comment about, which is the actual, how was the pinball displayed and what it's playing like and all that jazz. So obviously we're more on the software end, whereas they're more on the hardware end. But
the hardware, yeah.
There we go.
See, we're sort of, because it's pinball related, we're definitely sort of coming in probably halfway through the movie with a lot of the arcade one-up and at-game stuff. There's already large communities out there that cover that stuff as a specialty. So,
but then we got people like Jared here who, has Netherworld Arcade to go actually play pinball at, and so he's got the real world comparison going on. So I mean, we do have our place.
Hey, you know what I found out? Speaking of Netherworld Arcade, so Netherworld's been pretty good with spooky pins, right? So I've managed to get a fair few plays on Rick and Morty there, and what I noticed was on Rick and Morty, the flippers are weird on spooky games. You might have noticed this as well.
Weird in what way?
They have a different feeling to them than the Stearns and like the older Belly Williams tables. And I was talking to the tech there, Dave, at Netherworld, who also did Bad Santa this year. He was Santa for the pub, dressed up as Santa, and got very drunk, which was very funny.
Nice.
So he was saying that the reason why they feel weird and the reason why the flippers don't sort of have that same sort of solid feel to them is that they don't have end of stroke switches in them. They've actually got the old school. They actually only have 2 lugs, so they've only got wind voltage, not hold voltage. So it must have been a design decision that Spooky made very early on when they were making their circuit layouts, and they opted not to put in any hold voltage in the coils. It's only just full wind, and then the computer determines when the hold voltage turns on, so the coil doesn't burn out. So essentially, it half volts the coil, so that the flipper stays up, doesn't heat up too much. And as you can tell, Data East did that leading up to Last Action Hero, when they had the Ripper thing that fired the ball back really fast to the flipper. And they quickly realized that it just doesn't work. They need an end of stroke switch to sort of like tell the circuitry that, hey, no, the flipper's dropped back down again, you need to flip it up. So I found really weird things happening with that game. Like the upper flipper on that game sometimes doesn't even really full flip. It sort of half flips or like flips and just flops back down again. So I think they've received so many complaints about the way their flippers works that the next build that they're going to be making of whatever the next game is, it will actually have end of stroke switches as nature intended.
So do you feel that the flippers, they feel like they're worn out, they're not strong?
Sort of, yeah. They have this sort of it sort of feels variable. The strength on them, like you can sometimes get you feel like you really aim the shot. Like on Rick and Morty, the left ramp is super steep. Like it goes from the bottom of the playfield all the way up to the very top part of the backboard on the playfield. It's such a steep ramp, and sometimes you flip it and you think you've got a beautiful clean shot up the ramp, and it just goes nope. It doesn't make it up there. And like it'll just rattle half the way up and not go up there, which definitely that's not a clean shot if it starts to rattle. But like you'll do a nice shot up there and it'll just get halfway up and come back down, and then sometimes it'll fire up there like it's got vacuum ramps like on Farsight pinball games.
So is that what the EMs with their flippers is that the same type? Like when did end of stroke come into play?
Not sure. I think early solid states or early EMs didn't have any end of strokes. I don't know.
I'm just asking because that's always my thing with EMs. Those flippers don't feel strong. I mean, it seems like it's a labor to get the ball halfway up the field. The
coils in those are they have very low windings in them to start with. They're not really that powerful. And it's designed like the way because like the playfields were generally pitched pretty flat anyhow.
Yeah.
So like the way people set them up now is probably incorrect. So they really do need to have those things quite floaty and quite flat.
Because that was always our statement, complaint, whatever, with Pinball Arcade, where we're like, you can't apply the same flipper strength, mechanics, physics, whatever, that you have on your Stern tables that you're making and put them on an old Gottlieb EM. It's a completely different beast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's completely different.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that'll be good to see when they actually get that back. And maybe we had a few problems with the shipment here to Australia. Most of the cabinets, I think we covered this in a previous show, but the way they stacked the container that I was sending down here to Australia, they didn't stack them right. And a lot of them broke in transit.
Oops.
So there's a lot of cabinets down here. Some of them were unusable, like they were knocked open basically, the cabinets, because they weren't shipped properly. They weren't shipped on their containers on their like flat. They were like on their side, so all the way to the playfield was just knocking out the cabinet. So ours being Netherworld's one, was okay and was flippable, but I still reckon it's got some quirks in it. I just don't know. It's strange. Like I really love Rick and Morty as a game. It's really fun to play. It's like TNA but with ramps.
Oh, okay.
And it's not brutal like TNA. Like you don't get instant kickouts from the trap and all that sort of stuff. But it's got enough interesting things on it to do that if you like the show and you're into it and you know it, like you can get a lot of fun out of it. It's very good. If you compare that and South Park Pinball, I'd rather have Rick and Morty because it's just.
You mean the Sega integrated. South Park?
Yeah, the Sega South Park.
Yeah, no, that one's junk.
Yeah, it is. It is basically it is not fun.
It's a one-shot table with a bunch of random sound clips from the show, which was great when the pinball came out because I think the show had only been out for 2 years, maybe when that pinball was made. Right. But all these years on, and then seeing
it hasn't aged well.
No, it has not aged well.
Has not aged well. Yeah, so I'm probably incomparable, but yeah, it's really tightly integrated. The theme's great, and also the what they call the Bloodsucker edition, which is the one that you can get if you're a Spooky Fan Club member, which is the one that Netherworld got. Just got a kick-ass sound system in it. Jeez, this thing, you crank it up, and the whole thing vibrates and it sounds fantastic. Because Scott Denisi did the audio for it again, and he's very good at doing audio. So it's a really, really good package, that one. I strongly recommend going have a flip if you can.
Okay, so me and Jared had this conversation a little bit during the week, and I'm going to carry this over here. And it started with me asking what he thought of the Led Zeppelin table that Stern showed. Because I just kind of went, I mean, especially in comparison to the Guns N' Roses one from JJP, it's
incomparable.
Nothing. Yeah.
No.
Nothing. And then the one cool feature that it has on it, which is in the middle of the playfield, the little chamber that raises up and can magnetically capture the ball. Hey, guess what's not on the Pro model?
Yeah, that.
The one the only thing interesting thing.
It's really, like, you look at the playfield on that thing, on the Led Zeppelin, and there's not a lot going on at all, like, except for that thing in the middle that traps the ball.
Yeah.
I don't really, like, to put it this way, the Pro and the Premium and LEs, they're not going to look that different, because, I mean, there's not even drop targets everywhere. Like, they've just got stand-ups in most places. Like, I would expect that, like, the Premium would at least have piles of drop targets on it or something you can shoot for. It just
seems like a very lazy design. Okay, what iconography? God, I hate that word.
Iconography do we need to use?
Yeah, okay, we'll put that. Oh, well, sure, you got to put a Zeppelin toy on there, and is there a theme? No, we're just going to have you playing some music, and it'll be kind of like what the AC/DC table is, because they're both designed by the same guy, Steve Ritchie. It's a whole lot of
meh.
And then they tried doing the chase lights, basically that JJP did on Guns N' Roses, and they look just not even close.
Horrible.
Yeah.
No, they had the. Obviously, I don't know who nicked the idea from who, because you can clearly see that idea of cabinet lights that like oscillate up and down the side rails of the cabinet. That's too close, too coincidental to be, like someone was talking to someone at JJB and Stern. But just I think this is actually a limitation of Spike 2. They just can't have the amount of lights that JJP have on the games. And, some people will say, well, that's actually good, because some JJP games are a rainbow vomit light show.
Oh, yeah.
But the way they've done it on, and I'm sure you agree here, Chris, right? The way they've done it on that Guns N' Roses pin is really, really tasteful, and it really does look like a stage show.
And that's what I'm saying, that there is an actual... I was impressed that there was an actual almost story to the Guns N' Roses layout and theme and what they're presenting, instead of just putting out another music table.
It's what it really reminded, the Led Zeppelin thing, it reminded me so much of AC/DC, right?
Yes.
And that's also a Ritchie table.
Yeah.
And it's just got nothing special about it. Like, the Zeppelin fans will love it, but even Zeppelin fans are like kicking back on it, because there's some songs on there that aren't like classic Zeppelin staples that aren't in there.
Well, I mean, but what you're doing is you're basically asking, oh, you like Led Zeppelin and you like their music? Then you're going to want this. We're not going to make any other reason why you want this. It's just going to be...
you just want this.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when they slapped Primus on top of the Whoa Nelly table. It's like, okay, that was just a quick and easy slap of paint thrown on top, and, you did something, but...
It's exactly the same as this Supreme branding they put on everything, like Supreme, when they just go, oh, red and white, there you go, and now you're going to pay 5 times as much.
Yeah.
Like, okay, OneUp did a Supreme cabinet.
Yeah.
And it was just, everyone was going, what? People that, yeah.
Everybody's going, what? And yet they sell them out.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And then they get sold on the aftermarket for like 5 times as much as you bought them for.
Right. Okay, so anyway, what I was saying was, we started having this conversation, And then we started talking about, because of that one cool item that is on the Zepp table being removed for the Pro model, what would certain Bally Williams tables look like had the Stern gotten a hold of them and done the Pro and Premium and LE edition on them? So I'm going to ask this of those of you that are watching live here and can comment. Go ahead and ask us what we think would be removed from whatever table you want to post up there. We have a pretty good knowledge base of all the tables that exist. We can kind of do this. We're going to start off with with Creature from the Black Lagoon. So, Jared, what do you think is the first thing that would have been eliminated from a Pro model?
There's not a lot on that table that's really feature rich. So the only thing that you probably lose on is that big secondary ramp with the massive plastic habit rail that leads you back down to the
whirlpool section.
To the whirlpool.
Yeah,
so that whirlpool ramp, that's gone. You've only got like a single tier ramp there, and it'll just be, it won't be metal, like it won't be like a metal end to it. It'll just be a continuous bit of plastic. Taking you back down to the right.
Oh, I don't even think that I don't think it would even take you down to the. I think they would eliminate that completely. You would still just shoot the ramp, the main ramp that you would be doing.
Yeah.
But now it would maybe have one other drop down feed to the right orbit. To get it back to that right flipper. But that'd be the end of it. In terms of your bonus counting for how it cycles around. They would have something else to compensate for that in the rules.
So you reckon, because of course, shooting the ramp lights the double feature point system on that game. So you still need it. I think they would still return it to the right flipper. So it would.
I just don't think it would feed all the way down directly to the.
I reckon it would. I think it would, because you need that so you can actually do the double feature.
But you're not thinking Stern here, Jared. Think about what they've done to the Star Wars table, to Game of Thrones, to all manner of things, where they've completely just eliminated
taken out a rule set.
Look at Ghostbusters,
taking out a rule set.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So you got to think.
Classic Pro move.
Okay. Here's the thing that I know that would be gone: the hologram.
That hologram would be gone. It'd just be it'd
just be a painting of. It'd just be an image.
Creature in the middle. Yeah, for sure. That's 100% gone. So that and the ramp, there's your Pro table for sure with that one.
Is there a spinner on there? You know how they love to take the spinners out.
And there's no drops either. So they might take away the KISS feed as well. So you know how you shoot the KISS feed and it goes to subterranean trough and then feeds into the upkicker.
Yeah,
they might actually just remove that section of the trough as well and just make it a stand-up target or something there, like just a flat stand-up.
Yeah. If we had Photoshop skills, we would have done these, but we don't. So if anybody out there does have Photoshop skills, feel free to show us your versions and send them our way. Fiscal says, what would Fishtails lose?
Whoa, geez. That'd be a pretty bare table, wouldn't it, Fiscal?
You know what it would have for the. It would still have the center boat and the U-turn.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's it.
Yeah.
It would.
It definitely wouldn't have the fishing reel. That fishing reel would go.
Well, you wouldn't even have the ramp going to the fishing reel to feed the balls into the lock. It would be a virtual lock.
No, that up kicker. It'd be a virtual lock for sure. Yeah. Yep. And oh geez, what else? They'd probably keep the spinner, because that's integral to getting the size of the fish, the lie. But yeah, that I think they'd probably cost cut on that center ramp as well. They'd probably lose a captive ball and just make it I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, they've had, I don't know, is the captive ball an expense?
No, it's probably not. I mean, it's not mechanical, and again, it'd be hard to redesign.
Because that would be a huge set of rules to take out.
That's a huge hole. And that they wouldn't do that. They couldn't do that because it's just too integral to the game. And this is the problem, Chris, with a lot of the Bally Williams tables. Everything on those tables was put there for a reason.
Right.
and retroactively stripping them out of a table would really take some work. Because everything was there for a reason. It had a purpose. It was part of the bill of materials for a reason, because they weren't doing the Stern model. So this is a really interesting exercise to undertake, because you got to put your thinking cap on to see how they would work around the problem as well if they took a thing out. And we haven't even got to the juicier ones yet.
No, I just had let's see, no garage. Well, there would be the garage, like you're saying, the garage would be there. That would be where the virtual lock would be.
Yeah,
but
it'd probably be like
the up kicker to the ramp that goes, the habit trail that goes all the way across the table.
It'd be like a target, I think. Fiscal, I reckon Fiscal would be like a target, probably not a drop target, not even that fancy. It'd just be a like a stand up target that you hit to trigger a lock, and it'd be because the drop target acts as a barrier to the hole. You'd probably have to hit it a number of times to actually light lock, and yeah, that'd be not a lot of fun.
I'm trying to think, what was the first pro premium separation of a start?
I thought it was AC/DC, wasn't it?
Do you think it was?
I thought so.
You might be right.
Yeah.
You might be right.
Yeah.
Because that was certainly like, what do you mean you're taking out the entire lower playfield? Then you find out the lower playfield, like, literally is junk and does nothing anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think it was AC/DC. That was the first one. It may not be the official first one, but it was certainly the first one that people took notice of, because it removed a key playfield feature. In fact, it removed. There was a few things in it that they took out that people were up in arms about. So,
yeah, I mean, like the swinging bell and things like that.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
All right, what's another table? What was the one that you were thinking of that we should do?
Oh, well, this one, I know we talked about these two. Should we go, should we step up to something as big as Addams Family yet? Or should we keep that?
I mean, Addams Family? I'm trying to think of the things that okay. Automatically, what I'm thinking is that left flipper with the thing flips, gone.
Yeah, that would go.
Thing flips is gone.
Yeah.
The toy hand,
because that's literally all you use that for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The toy hand, I think, stays. It's. I just think that's I don't know. It's a feature that I'd have a hard time. It might mechanically work different, I guess. Maybe the hand toy would just be there permanently, and it would just suck up the ball or something like that. Maybe it doesn't pop out of the box.
I've had a look at that mechanism under the playfield, and it is colossal. And it's not only just the hand mechanism, but there's like if you have a look underneath it, it's basically this big metal box. It literally goes almost to the floor of the cabinet.
Oh, wow.
On the playfield. Like there's about like probably 2 inches of room at the bottom of that metal box at the pivot point of the playfield when you lift it up to service it. It is massive. And the thing is that there's a solenoid that actually, when it drops into the bottom, like you hear it when thing retracts and it goes plonk, that's the ball dropping about 30 or 40 centimeters down to the bottom of this box. And then there's a solenoid that kicks it up the up this sort of like path that stages the ball near the right out kicker. And the way it gets it into the right the way it gets it into the right out kicker is it's got this little tiny solenoid that just pops it over this little ridge, this little lip on the thing rail into the main trough. So there's a lot of.
So it's a lot of mechanics going on there.
That's probably like that would be a third of the bill of materials on that table, I would think.
All right.
It is really, really, really expensive, that bit of the machinery. Like, there's a lot going on. So that would go 100% if that was a pro model. You'd be losing that. You would probably keep the turntable.
You have to keep the turntable.
The Vault turntable, I think, is too integral to the game not to have it there. I was trying to think of a way of doing away with that, and the only thing I could think of was like a stand-up target or maybe a drop target that you hit to trigger the letters. But it's a jackpot hole as well. That's the problem, and there's a mode that needs that as well. Like there's a tunnel hunt mode requires that one. There's so many modes that rely on that upper vault.
The only other The only other thing I know
It's
for
got to
sure
stay.
that would be gone is the power. The magnet
Oh,
underneath the center
the
of the
magnets.
playfield doing the power.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. That'd go. That'd go. See ya. Yeah. So those three, I think they would have to get rid of the hand.
Yeah.
Because of the sheer cost of the thing.
Yeah.
And that would make it, just think of the table without thing.
Oh.
Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. They'd probably have the toy
table
there. They'd probably have the hand toy there.
And it'd have flashes around it. Like,
but
it'd be going nuts with
it wouldn't
flashes.
Actually do
That'd
anything.
be it. No, it'll just be there, sort of sitting over the lane, probably, like hovering high enough over the lane that it looks like the ball would be picked up by it. But that's it. It might even have the plastic box there in the hand, but the hand would just be a bracket holding the hand in place like that, I reckon. So it'd still have the aesthetic of it, but it would just do nothing.
I was just thinking that means for sure that something like Johnny Mnemonic wouldn't have that glove.
Oh, nah.
No way.
No, that would have to go. And that thing, that's actually a good thing, because that glove is a pain in the butt to maintain. It is just full of faults. Everyone complains about it. Like, when you get it working, it's great, but yeah, it's hard to get right. Now, what about Doctor Who? What would you do with Doctor Who? That mini playfield is the crux of the game, but it is just so incredibly expensive. Could you do a far side on it? Could you actually have a smaller mini playfield area up the top there and have like some targets that trigger the locks or something like that? Because you got so much mechanics in that thing. You've got the fact that it rises up is a huge expense. And then you've got the virtual lock solenoids in there. You got the lock solenoids in there as well, which fire the balls out and store the balls. So I think you can make it a virtual lock and maybe knock out some of the the expense there. So you could maybe keep the platform and make it a virtual lock, so you're not having to worry about the solenoids. And you could still have it rise up, but geez, you wouldn't be able to cut too much cost off that though. There's not a
lot of meat on that table to trim,
to really cut. No.
I know that we were also talking about like Twilight Zone, where it'd be
Twilight Zone.
Goodbye gumball, goodbye power playfield, goodbye ceramic ball.
Yep. It'd completely, like, you get rid of the power.
I imagine that you would lose one of the upper flippers. I have a feeling you couldn't get rid of the left one because that kicks over to the piano. So it'd probably be the right flipper, midfield flipper, because that only shoots over into the camera. It's kind of an area that's like kind of a whatever. I mean, not much really happens there. So I'd imagine that would be the one that would.
Well, you've also got the town square shot as well, and that's how you pick up hitchhikers.
Yeah.
So they'd have to change the mechanic of how you pick up hitchhikers. And the camera is, while it is sort of like a mystery award, you could probably put that feature triggered somewhere else in the playfield.
Well, but here's the thing: if you have the left flipper flipped up and you flip from the right flipper, you can get it into that area.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still shoot the area. There would just have to be some kind of a diverter or some alteration to the rules for what happens when the ball goes over there.
Yeah, and that would be very hard to do. Yeah. Now, what about Bride? Interesting question, Fiscal. Bride of Pinbot. Well, again, the main feature of that table is the rotating head. How would you make the rotating head less rotatey? Would you remove a face from the head and maybe just have one of the heads like a static?
Well, let's assume that we're dealing with the DMD era now. Okay, we're doing Bride 2.0.
All right,
so,
Bride 2.0.
So if you were doing a pro model, it would just be a flat surface that when the ball rolls down, maybe different areas of the surface are magnetized to capture the ball. And so there's no rotation going on. It's just the ball comes in and gets magnetized to that area.
So you reckon they'd have one face, but like 3 or 4 magnets in there?
Yes.
Right. That's interesting.
And then for the premium, that's when you get the whole rotating mechanism.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of that magnetized head. That sounds really cool. They should have just done that to start with.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't have a bride giving her O face.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and putting the balls in her mouth.
Yeah.
Because this was designed by Python Angelo,
God.
he was just terrible for that sort of thing.
It wasn't just sexual innuendo. It was blatant.
No, it was blatant. Like, the bride has basically 2 flashes for nipples. If you have a look at the playfield top down, like he wasn't messing around with the innuendo on that table. Like, it was intentional. So, that's
well. And I imagine too the plastic clear ramps would just be metal.
The plastic clear? You mean the ones that are like that lead up to the head?
Yes, there's the one that leads up to the head. That would just be a plain piece of metal ramp, undecorated,
that's more expensive
non-laser
to produce.
cut. You think that's?
Oh no, metal ramps. That's the reason why they eliminate them on pro versions of the table. Like,
really, the plastic ramps are cheaper.
Heaps cheaper. They're injection molded. You just make a mold, shove a whole lot of plastic into it, and pump them out. That's why you always see the premium models with the metal ramps, and that's like a feature of the build because metal is more expensive.
I just figured that what was more expensive was the habit trails, the metal habit trails.
Oh, so yes, the habit rails, yes, they are expensive. They would definitely go in a pro model unless it was integral to the game, like it was an area of the playfield that took a little bit of extra hits. I mean, that's an interesting thing. Like, what about the skill shot on Bride? Would that actually be simplified? Because that's a big bit of metal, a big chunky assembly,
and it's got a lot of triggers all the way down.
It does, yeah.
I mean, I know that if they were building it today, it'd be all opto sensor.
Yeah, it would be.
I guess that's part of the interesting portion of this conversation is, are we assuming that it was being built then or being built now?
Yeah, that's right. I think if they were building it then, that's the tricky bit, because a lot of the things that we see on Stern tables now that they sacrifice for pro models, they just virtualize everything. So they'll virtualize a lock mechanism, which probably the System 11 games back then just wouldn't have had the ability to do. Like, they wouldn't be able to keep track of lock balls the way they do now. They actually needed a physical lock to work. But if they were redesigning it now and taking that layout, they would just completely virtualize everything, basically.
I guess what we're trying to say is it kind of sucks when you think about it.
It really does.
What are you designing for? You're now designing essentially 2 tables. Or are you just throwing one to the side, being like, whatever. But then you think about the cost. There's no way that, I mean, some of these things that they eliminate, where you just go, wait a second, and that's why the price is $1,500 less? Really?
It's like, I don't know if that's worth $15,000, like $1,500. Like, that's not a lot of stuff removed. So yeah, it's definitely, sometimes you go,
I don't know.
I have to ask why. It's tricky.
Over to our peanut gallery. Questions, comments, anything you want us to bring up, go ahead, type it in. We'll broach it.
And even if it's, I think we're done with the let's talk about pro and premium models. Even though it was an interesting thing, I think we've exhausted all the things we can think about that would really make tables suck if you remove them. So what about other questions? What about trying to think if we have been playing. I can probably talk about something new. Well, new to me.
Okay.
At least.
Good.
Managed to get my hands on a VR headset recently. And this one is the Quest 2, which is a new one from Oculus.
Okay.
And I thought, you know what? I want to try out. I want to be a super late adopter to VR and try out stuff. I mean, the Oculus headsets, its barrier to entry is pretty low now. Like, it's not like you had to spend like $1,000 and have a really powerful gaming rig. like you did when the first round of like Rift headsets came out. Like this is all using essentially an Android-based solution with a VR, a specific VR chipset from Snapdragon in it, the XR2, and it's all contained in the headset. Even the tracking is contained in the headset. You don't need to put up external IR sensors and stuff like that, like you did with the older ones. It's pretty neat.
Because that's the thing.
So,
I have access to. I had it plugged in here. The Oculus Rift. There's so many wires. So many wires.
So many wires. Like, it takes like if you're setting one up, you really have to have a dedicated space for it, don't you? Like, it's so hard to get right.
Yeah, you need room.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you plan on playing, if you're planning on playing something like Beat Saber, yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to have some room.
You got to have some flailing.
And that's the thing. The way they've managed the whole room, what they call the feature that Chris was talking about there is called room scale in VR, and it's the setting that you set up to define the space that you're playing in, the virtual space that you're playing in. The way they've done it on the Quest 2 is interesting. They allow you to actually draw out your room area with the controllers, and or you can set what they call a stationary boundary. And the way the games work with that is it changes the way you play the games. So the things like Beat Saber that generally encourage you to move around and like actively dodge the barriers and stuff that comes towards you. You get less of that action, and which to me, particularly when you're learning VR, is actually not a bad way to start. It's almost like the basic mode of VR. You sort of learn how to actually control things in the VR space, and then you can sort of move to like the modes they have in Beat Saber, which is like 360 mode, where everything's coming at you literally from everywhere, which is pretty intense. But the whole room scale thing is better managed. You can actually play this thing in pretty tight spaces. Like you'll see behind me in my room, I pretty much use that little space behind my chair as my VR space. And it just basically defines a guardian boundary. It's a circle. It's just about a circle big enough for me to stand in. And that's all you need for the Quest. And sure, probably some gameplay elements are sacrificed because of it, but that's actually fine. I haven't noticed any problems in any of the games I've played so far where the space is an issue. So that really makes, again, VR more accessible to more people, because some people don't have a dedicated space for VR, right?
So here's a question again to those watching. I've been trying to do gameplay video of Pinball. Who wants to see Jared doing gameplay video of whatever he's playing in VR?
Yeah. And there are ways of doing it too. Like you can do, there's a guy that I seem to come across a fair bit on YouTube that deals with VR. He's called Mike from the VR Oasis. It's a really good channel if you want to dip your toe into VR. He really breaks down things nicely for you in a very accessible way, and his reviews are really, like, he's a really personable guy anyhow, Mike, and he explains the features of the games, and he also touches on things that's really important. Like if you're a new VR player, it takes a while to get used to the motion of some VR games. And I was super excited for this free title on the Quest 2, which was Roller Coaster Simulator. I thought, oh yeah, I love roller coasters. This is going to be awesome. And then
you thought you loved roller coasters, and then you tried one in VR.
And then I tried one in VR, and I nearly spewed. Yeah. Like it is really hard. The motion aspects of VR, if you are thinking like you are moving forward, like in a car racing game or something like that, and your body doesn't feel like it's moving forward, it does very weird things to your equilibrium. Like, and there are some, the way that Facebook classifies the games is that it's comfortable, intermediate, and intense as far as a VR experience. And they clearly say that intense experiences are not for everyone and really are only for experienced VR gamers. And even then, may not even be for them. Wow. So they're like saying, if you go intense, expect that you are very comfortable with VR and you're very comfortable with the motion elements of it, and prepare for a bit of weirdness. So the way they try and overcome, like the makers of the roller coaster simulator game are they're very smart. They obviously got a lot of feedback that people were like losing their lunch when playing this game. So they've got a couple of tactics that help you still experience the game, but it makes it so it's there's this little target and on the front of the car that you're in, like you can obviously look around you and everything and see all the environment, and then right in front of you there's like this target, and the target is the motion sickness target. So if you're looking around the game, you're going, oh, this is not feeling good, you just look at the target, and that gives you a horizon.
Oh, okay.
Because it's all about, it's the reason why you feel sick in VR games is lack of horizon.
Yeah.
So the other thing they do is they give you a helmet, and the helmet gives you, you can have just the regular helmet on, which just gives you a little border around your field of view. So again, you get that feeling of basic horizon. Then you can go an extra level and have like an iris. So you have like the helmet and then an extra field of view, or FOV inside the helmet that gives you like extra horizon. And then if you're really still having trouble, you can even have basically a grid view that displays completely around your field of view in the helmet, and it has like a moving square shape horizon. I had all three of those things on, and I still felt sick. So,
so
it really disappointed me.
Have you tried out any of the pinball that's out there? You know, whether it be Zaccaria Pinball or Pinball Effects 2 VR, or I doubt you went the Stern Pinball VR route, but
I definitely have not tried that yet. So there's two different things. This is the interesting thing about the Quest 2 as well. So the Quest 2 is a pretty decent headset to get your hands on, and there's two reasons why. It's got a pretty extensive catalog of games that you can run on the headset itself without any extra software. You don't need a computer. But the other thing is that it also doubles as a fully fledged VR headset you can connect up to your PC as well. And you can do that with the cable that comes with the headset. Or you can actually do it wirelessly as well if you install a couple of extra programs on the headset. So it will work with Steam VR, no problems at all. So you can actually play all of your Steam titles through this headset. And there's another thing that that is really good about the fact that the headset is based on Android. It uses all of the regular Android things to do the games with. So one very clever set of folks have set up a thing called SideQuest. And what SideQuest is, it allows you to sideload games onto the headset. Now, these aren't pirated games. These are official games that developers have used. A little bit like the difference between itch.io and Steam. So itch.io is a different marketplace. And in the case of itch, you often get Steam keys as well that the developers give you, so you can add it to your Steam library. Whereas the whole SideQuest thing, it's like a marketplace for games that are either in beta or are experimental, and perhaps don't yet meet the quality grade, the really high quality grade that Facebook sets on their marketplace. So, like, there's some really interesting stuff on there. Like, you've got this first-person shooter called Pavlov, and it's almost like sort of PlayStation 2 graphics, but in VR, and it's a really polished shooter. Like, if you like first-person shooters, you would install SideQuest and get this because it's free, and it's really professional for what it is. There's this other game that really I've been having a ball with, which is a drumming simulator, and it actually has it's a pretty fully fledged game at the moment because it's been in development for a while. But you actually have, like, it's a little bit like Guitar Freaks and Drum Mania or Guitar Hero, where the notes come towards you and you got to hit them in time. But the thing is that this is like a full virtual drum kit, so you're not actually striking anything. You've got the controllers in your hand, and you're actually, like, doing this and rolling around the thing. And initially I thought, this is really going to suck without having that feeling of hitting something, right, that rebound you get. But it's actually not as bad as you think. It actually works really quite well because you actually get this tactile feedback through the controllers.
It's not as bad as you think.
Well, this is an early beta too. Like, this guy has got some things to work out. I'm going to send him a bit of a note because I think there's a few things that probably still in development, like judgment system. You know how in Guitar Hero you have like, you've hit the note perfectly, or you've hit the note sort of okay. Right. It doesn't have that yet, and I think having played way too many credits in Drum Mania by Konami in the arcade, this is like an area of expertise that I have with these games. Like I really know how they should work. The other thing is because the sense zone is when the cymbal pitcher goes over the drum pad like this. Let me just get this right, like that. So as it's coming down towards you, it actually, rather than having a bass line like you have in Guitar Heroes, the bass line is actually the cymbal or the tom or the other drum pad. So what you're getting is, if you're trying to keep the beat, you're having all these notes come down sort of off center like that, but at the same time, like if you have one like that and that, you have to actually hit them at the same time, and that's really hard to judge. Yeah. So, but that's the side quest thing is really interesting on the platform. So it's free to install. All you need is a computer. It even works on Mac. So like you can
what?
I know, right? So you can actually do this whole thing. So I've been having a really fun time with it. I have bought a couple of games officially through the Facebook store, and one of them is Shooty Skies Overdrive. Now, this was a mobile game that was released just as like a casual game. But what they've done is pretty incredible with it. I found out that Shooty Skies is actually developed in Australia by a studio here. And they've done essentially a shoot 'em up in VR. And basically your hand is the plane. And you have all these enemies just throwing bullets at you, and you literally guide the plane through the bullets like this with your hand. And you've got your other hand like handles the power-ups. So you've got like all these different random cutesy power-ups that you can use. Like one of them is like a vacuum that like sucks up all the bullets, so you can clear the room of all the bullets. And the other one is like they have one that's like a llama trumpet. So you actually have to hold your left one up like this, like a trumpet, and it starts blowing these things out to blow up the enemies. It's hilarious. And it's really well done. Like I would like to see more shoot 'em ups on the platform that actually use your hand as the plane, because it's such an intuitive way to do it, because this is the thing that you're guiding through the bullets. I reckon it could be really fun.
And then to fire back, you can make a gun thing. Pew, 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 pew.
Well, it's auto fire, or you can set it so it fires automatically. Yeah, it's pew, pew.
I'm intrigued by what popped up here a little bit ago here. The KFConsole. No, I read about it, like the headline, and I thought, well, that's surely a joke. So, Fiscal, are you actually saying that this is a real thing? That it's a warming drawer underneath? Is it underneath a specific console, or is it something that, Kentucky Fried Chicken is designing?
I've never heard about this thing. I need to Google it.
I mean, Jared, we know that the system name would be called the Dirty Bird, right?
It would be the Dirty Bird, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, it is actually a thing. Hang on. So this is a product from Cooler Master. This is the description. I love it. It's forged from the fires of the KFC ovens and built by Cooler Master from the ground up. There has never been a tastier way to experience the latest titles in stunning 4K 240 frames per second. Okay, sure thing. So so I think what they're doing is they're using all the residual heat in the system to act as a food warmer. Okay, sure. So is this essentially a PC case that you can put a PC into that also doubles as a food warmer? Well, okay.
Because you've already got the image of the gross guy that hasn't gotten up out of his chair in 26 hours with 5 zillion Coke cans surrounding him and just grease stains all over his shirt, and now he's going to have warm food right there. What more can you want, right?
So here we go. So it's also VR ready, you should note. So you can get on your feet and enjoy the world of virtual reality with the smell of fresh chicken captures your senses.
Oh my god!
I'm not kidding. This is the copy they're using on this. Oh, I mean, it's well spec'd. it's got a good spec in it. Like it's obviously using an RTX NVIDIA card in it because it's got like 240 frames per second with up to 240 hertz output. So it's pretty chunky, but I can't even believe it. I wouldn't like Fiscal writes in the chat. It's apparently going to have like $2,000 of power inside it. Yeah, you're not kidding. Like it's a well specced out.
There it is, folks.
PC.
There, I was able to take the time. That's yeah.
I can't even.
What's funny about this though is that a few weeks ago, and we haven't watched it yet, but there was this whole thing called. It was a little Lifetime movie, or that KFC was doing with seduction,
yes.
something of the taste of seduction or whatever, and everybody was laughing, going ha ha ha, and then it's legit. I recorded it. I haven't watched it yet, but
no, it's proper. Yeah, it's a thing.
So apparently somebody at KFC has been thinking outside the box and was given a budget.
So, like, I'd hope that if you buy this, you at least get some vouchers for KFC, so you can fill the thing up a couple of times with chicken, right? Like, it looks like it's okay, yeah. This is very interesting. I wouldn't get one, but it's a chunky beast. It's got some really good specs in it.
Your money, I don't understand.
Well, look. It is a very compact. It's a compact looking PC. Like it's pretty small looking, unless my eyes deceive me. There's no idea of scale, and it's got heaps of tech in it. So I'm not sure about the warming box, but look, I think they need to consider a vegan version of this.
It's all in the easy bake oven.
Yeah, it is all. It's all about the easy bake oven. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're right, Fiscal. It has a really powerful system on a chipboard, the NUC 9. It's incredible. It's incredible and crazy at the same time. I'd be happy to give one a go if Cooler Master wants to send one my way.
There you go. So
which they won't.
They won't, but if by chance it gets to them, don't worry. Our information is listed down below for how to get in contact with us for reviews.
Absolutely.
And such, for product reviews.
Yeah.
So
it is a good way of using the heat that is naturally inherent in a computer system, though. Like that, what they're doing here is actually showing an application for like reusing the essentially the wasted power from a PC for something good. And I mean, that's a novel idea. So good on them for thinking outside the box. That's definitely good.
So I got for Christmas 2 games that I'm
did you?
Way behind the curve on. But that's okay. This is what I do. I wait for Game of the Year editions, and with it having all the DLC, and it's a lot cheaper, and ta-da. So I got the Spider-Man game for PS4. And I got Last of Us Part 2. And I started playing both of them yesterday. And I'll just say the Spider-Man game is... I didn't know what to expect from it, because I've tried like the Batman game and didn't like it at all. There's a certain play style that I enjoy, and the Spider-Man game is doing two things that just like are going, that feels good. One, the swinging around the city, it's effortless. You don't have to think about where you're firing your web or anything else like that. It just automatically finds a point of contact, and away you go.
That's so good.
And it just is smooth, and you get that diving sensation. It's top notch on that. The other thing is the fighting aspect. There are a ton of moves that you can do, and I was worried that I was gonna like have to try and memorize all these moves or what. No, it's like God of War. Just button mash, and cool things happen.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. See, that's my sort of fighting game, right?
Exactly.
I was always turned off like the Street Fighters and Mortal Kombats of the day, because to play those games well, you actually need to memorize moves and have instant muscle memory recall.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I want to enjoy them, it takes effort to learn them.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's not fun, but that sounds great. Like, I'd get into it. It's almost like casual... It's a casual beat 'em up, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I mean, it just it's the kind of game that you can just sit back, relax. You're not going to get overly stressed about it. You're going to see some cool things happen that you're going to go, oh, how did I do that? And then you go into the moveset list and you go like, oh, well, gee, if I just had have known to do this button, in this combination, I can do that all the time. But I'm not going to remember that. I'm just going to button mash. And then it's also got a little mix of GTA in that you are... God, I swear, I think they actually mapped New York City.
Really?
Like 1-to-1 mapped it, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not GTA where they faked Miami or faked New York. I think there's legitimate, it's true to scale and everything. But they've hidden collectibles all over the place. But they didn't make it the annoying hiding where you have to stumble upon them and find them. No, they'll put a little icon on your map and you can, select that icon and it'll send you to the area and tell you within how many meters you are of that item, and so you can find it that way. There's still a little bit of looking to be found,
but it'll locate you where you need to look.
Yes, and that hits me in the GTA had that a lot, but also like Tomb Raider does that where they hide all sorts of objects, and the more objects you collect, that helps you with your power-ups, and so it encourages you to not just plow through the story mode, but to actually explore and play. Just they're side missions without being actual missions. Call it that way.
That's cool.
So that's fun.
Mechanic.
Then I slipped in Last of Us Part 2, and first off, I've never had a game where you had to install one disc that was nothing but data, and then you have your play disc that you play with for secondary. The game is massive.
Oh, I have. I have had that experience before, and it's not been in a game like that. It's been on a much smaller, earlier version of the console. That's how you used to play Beat Mania on PlayStation 1. You had
back in that day. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy used to come on 4 discs. That was just,
you insert the second disc.
Right, but in today's console, it's all about like the Spider-Man, it took me 90 minutes to download or to copy it onto the console and then download all the updates and before I could even play. And
you actually get the disc. So let me get this straight on, because I'm not a console owner. On the PS4, you get your starting game disc if you choose to buy it, like from the shop.
Yeah.
And you actually literally install that disc onto the hard drive in the console.
Yep, you're no longer playing off the disc.
Right. So this is essentially just your license copy, essentially.
Yes, your disc winds up being your key.
Your key, right.
Yeah. And the suck part about that is that because I only have a 500 gig PS4, and so at any one time I can basically have about 3 games installed.
That's all?
Depending. I mean, well, the Last of Us 2, on the back of the box it says minimum 100 gigabyte free.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And the Spider-Man game, I think, took up 65 gigs. So you do the math. You fill it up really, really fast. And I hate it because there are certain games I don't want to delete because I like to go back to them. I'm being... Truth be told, there's probably about 6 games that you can have on there at any given time. But...
what you're saying is that 500 gig doesn't last long.
No, I really should have an external drive connected to this.
So it allows you to use. It actually does support like a USB.
PS4 fully allows you to do external that way, or if you wanted to swap the internal drive, they made it easy. They knew that people were going to be doing it. They didn't make it proprietary or anything else like that.
That's smart.
Yeah.
I remember with the PS2 on some of the Japanese versions, you could actually plug in a hard drive into that too, and it would work in the first or second generations of them that were really fat PS2s, But so that was cool.
So Last of Us 2 though is like I finally get it installed, I start playing. Immediately it's just like, oh yeah, let's cozy up. It's gonna be story time because I know that's what this is. And my lord, did they just start letting the F-bombs drop?
Oh really?
They like the other game. The first one, they were there, but they was sporadic. It wasn't just...
They were just flavor. They were flavor swearing.
Yeah. This is you're watching a Tarantino movie.
Right. Oh, right. So certainly not one for the kiddies to be listening to in earshot.
No, at one point I probably put in about 3 hours yesterday, and I'm sitting there playing through it, and all of a sudden my wife goes, "Is this your game?" Like, yep, not watching a movie. This is the game.
Yeah. This is a game.
And the funny thing is I got all that time in, and I knew this basically from having played the first one. My cutoff point, I basically went, well, there was the prologue.
Oh, right.
Because, and this is what I love about Naughty Dog. They do a phenomenal job of putting you through the tutorial, basically, to remind you how to play, to remind you how to use, without it ever feeling like
a tutorial.
It's just a natural progression. Like, literally, one of the first things you do, because it's all snowy and everything, and you're about to go out, and there's some kids having a snowball fight, and they're like, "Oh, you got to play snowball fight with us." You're like, "Okay, great." So you're starting to scoop snowballs, you're tossing them at them. Well, this is showing you, remember, this is your trigger finger for your gun, and this is your aiming reticule.
Right.
I mean, without it...
That's really nice.
Yeah. And they're breaking up, like, who is doing what, because the story shifts from person to person. And so it's like, okay, now you're doing some exploring, and now you're doing some horseback riding, and you're doing all these things, but it is all thoroughly part of the story. It's not story, game. It's all story that you're just kind of building.
It's interactive storytelling.
Exactly. And so...
That's very cool.
And so basically where I got to a point, and I knew this was going to happen, but I basically got to the point where a new... like a title card popped up, and I went, boom, there we go. I'm done with the prologue. We are done with the tutorial. Now the game itself, the game proper starts.
We're actually in the game now. Yeah, right.
So I'm looking forward to deep diving into this bit of depression. Well, it's a grim story. It's a grim story.
Right. Okay, so you really need to have your happy. You need to have a full bucket of happiness before you start the game.
Well, I've said it before. The very first time I tried playing Last of Us, I didn't make it very far. I went, Naughty Dog. I love Uncharted. Uncharted is my favorite game, and I tried playing it as if I was playing Uncharted, and that's completely the wrong way to play it. And I got a little freaked out over the survival horror aspect of it and didn't care for that. And so I put the game down, and I didn't touch it for another year and a half or so. At which point I had been watching The Walking Dead. And that's when I realized it's a Walking Dead episode. And if you treat it like that, you're golden.
Right, I see. Right. You just need to understand how the game developers want you to experience the game, not how you think you should experience it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey, on the, maybe we could switch gears now and to a subject you probably won't expect me to bring up, but that's movies.
What? Jared never talks movies. Of which I got to warn you guys, folks. Next time we come in, I'll be doing my annual best of worst of movie list. Yeah, just warning you.
Yeah, warning. Yeah.
Okay, what do you got?
It is a tradition that you should expect by now if you're a regular BlahCade listener. So I have watched it was obviously school holidays here in Australia.
Yeah.
This is our summer holidays over here. So kids are off and they're looking for entertainment. So managed to watch the Disney Pixar movie called Soul.
Oh, okay.
Now Soul it almost feels like not a sequel, but like a related area for Pixar compared with Inside Out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just heard somebody say that it's that was the kids version. This is the adults version.
It does kind of feel like that. So that movie, so Soul is all about this jazz musician that has an accident and is sort of forced into this limbo state between
Wait, did
the
he
real
forget
world.
to breathe while he was playing his instrument?
No, basically he has a physical accident.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell you how it is.
Okay.
It's sort of weird. The movie sort of starts off a bit slow, and I thought, oh man, the kids aren't going to dig this. And then it's almost like the whole thing they did, the technique they did with The Wizard of Oz, where everything's sort of in black and white,
Oh, okay.
and then everything goes into full color.
Sure.
But it's not so much that the colors shift; it's just the shift between almost like the real world and then this.
Yeah, there's a visual cue.
There's definitely a visual cue, and it's really well done. And when it switches into the soul world, let's call it that, that's when I could go, okay, I think the kids are going to start getting into this. And like Zachary didn't really care for it that much. I think they both liked the version of the movie that Kim picked for them first, because it was very much straight down the line kids. This was more thinking kids movie. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. But I really enjoyed it. It's I mean, if you've got Disney Plus, it's there for you now, because it's almost like they release it straight to video. It was probably going to be a theatrical release.
It was, but not anymore.
Yeah, and it's a good move. Like it's actually perfectly suited for video. It brings me though to another idea about, I don't know why like Oculus and that aren't actually take advantage of the 3D market here, because if you can't go to the movie theater and you still enjoy 3D, this movie is stereoscopic 3D compatible. Why aren't they doing this in VR? Because essentially that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 screens. You can actually have full VR.
Well,
so that's an aside.
The guy that I got my Oculus from, he swore by watching 3D movies in VR. I mean, he loved doing that. I don't see how he could keep that thing on his head for 2 hours, but he thought it was a fantastic experience, and that really made the 3D pop when watching.
It would.
Yeah.
It would be incredible. I think the way they do 3D on the Oculus, I've seen some 3D content. I've watched some videos they have available for free, and there's definitely a field of view. Like you'll have like your main view here, like your screen, and then a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right is your field of view. But anything outside of that is just black.
Well, he had it so that you could actually be sitting in a theater watching the movie.
Yeah, that's right. There's actually an app you can use. It's like a virtual theater app. And you can actually go and watch. They'll do rebroadcasts of things like Top Gun and stuff like that. You can go and sit and watch Top Gun in a virtual environment, just like you're in a theater. It's pretty cool. But I don't know how 3D would work like that. I don't know whether it would actually be 3D from the perspective of like the screen and the things coming out at you sort of within the theater space, or whether you'd literally be plopped right in the middle of the 3D movie, because that would be pretty cool. Like essentially having a seat inside the movie, where you could look around the environment and have like essentially the directorial stage at the front, but the environment around you. Man, that would be an incredible experience.
Yeah, now you're asking a lot.
that is probably too much, because that's not something they could cater for.
No,
that would need to be a game experience.
Exactly,
they need to render that on the fly.
Exactly.
Well, look, I'd be happy with the former. I think that would be an amazing experience in 3D. I just need to work out how to get 3D content.
Well, fortunately for you guys can actually still buy 3D content. They don't sell it here in the States, so
that's ridiculous. I think, isn't it? Like, it's still a thing they're producing.
Still a thing they're producing, and if I want a 3D movie, I have to import it from the UK.
Ridiculous.
And it was entirely, and we've mentioned it here before, and it's my soapbox, but it was entirely because they decided that, we've got these 4K TVs, we need to sell the 4K ultra high definition discs, and the best way to do that is because people just adopted buying 3D TVs, but they saw that the trend was fading. And so they were like, okay, so we're going to stop selling 3D TVs, and then we're going to stop selling the media that goes with them, but we're going to have all this 4K media instead that people will then buy. And so that was their decision. They were like, boom, that's our cutoff. And it was like, literally, there was movies that were scheduled to come out on Blu-ray in 3D that then that release got chopped. But over in the UK, there they were. But the problem was that depending on who the studio was and who was doing the releasing, like all the Marvel movies, thankfully, and the Star Wars movies, those are put out on region-free discs. But like, I really wanted to see Terminator 2 in 3D, and that was region locked to region 2, and so I wasn't able to buy that disc. So, I had to go the Jolly Roger way and download a pirated version. But
well, that's that's the problem, isn't it? Like, if they're not going to make the content available in the country that you're in, like, there are people out there like you who want to do the right thing and want to pay the money.
Yeah.
But if you're going to restrict it, like, what is the whole concept of regions anyhow in today's modern world?
It doesn't matter much anymore. You'll find that most discs are region unlocked now.
Region unlocked. That's good.
I mean, back in the day,
having to go and putting this.
Back in the day, it was because movies weren't being released worldwide on day and date. It was it's going to be here in America, and 3 months later, it's going to be there in Australia. So
because they literally moved the film canisters around, didn't they? Like, they actually shipped them to the different. Like, they had a certain amount of these produced, and they just went around the world in a stage release.
Yes. Yeah. And then plus it would be like digital. Timing it for, like you said, your kids' holidays. You're in summer, we're in winter. It kind of coincides with our winter break, and your kids in summer. But not all of the big release dates match up to around the world to everybody else's holidays, obviously. But now that they're doing day and date release, it doesn't make any sense to have a region locked disc because all the discs come out day and date across the world too.
Yeah, that's right. Because they know that people are just going to pirate it anyhow. Like, they've made torrenting and piracy more difficult, but there's VPNs and there's plenty of different ways you can get content if you want to go down that path. And I think they've just gone, you know what? Why are we trying to fight this? Let's actually just offer it so it's legitimately available, and then I'm sure that's resulted in a decrease in piracy. The fact that they've actually released this content everywhere at the same time, like. That's the main reason why people would pirate to start with. So, I mean...
Well, it certainly makes it easier for people that want to do it the legit way to be able to do it the legit way. Because, like I said, to me, it was Terminator 2, and also I really wanted to see Valerian in 3D. And I didn't get a chance to see either of them in the theater, because T2 was literally in the theater for, like, a week and a half, and they pulled it from the 3D version. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to wait for the disc, and I'm just going to buy the disc sight unseen. I'm all ready. And they denied me that opportunity. So
ridiculous.
I didn't feel
that would be pretty
bad about downloading it.
Given that movie is now old, I still think that movie would be pretty amazing in 3D still.
It was all right.
It was all right.
It was all right. It was. Yeah. It was a conversion. I mean, the conversions have gotten really, really good, but there's. You no longer don't have to film a movie in 3D natively, but you still have to plan for it, and you can see that there was just things that I know Cameron would do differently if he had been planning for 3D as opposed to doing the conversion. So.
Right. Interesting. But yeah, that's something I'm going to have to look into trying to work out how to do.
Yeah. Hey, Jared, look at the time there. We've
oh, wow. Hey, look. We filled the show with enough...
With nonsense.
With nonsense to make a show. Hooray!
I'm just going to throw this out here because I did have fun doing it, even though it doesn't seem like people are much catering to it, but we'll see. I'm going to still give it a shot. I'm going to do another 10-minute pinball probably tomorrow. Record a giant block of them. These are going to be my top 5 packs, I guess, but it's usually a table within the pack that I recommend to anybody that ever wants to. Then when they're new to Pinball FX 3 and they're like, what do I download? These are always what I recommend. So we're going to try this again. So once again, if you guys want to watch live, I'll be here tomorrow on Sunday at 2 p.m. doing exactly that. So be sure to tune in. That's to you that are watching right this minute. So that's going to be, and I've got plans on doing my 5 worst that are in there. And I'm still looking for ideas. I thought I had one other and slipping me at the moment, but trying to, I enjoy making them, so I'll keep on doing them. But I thought that we would do that just because this particular episode, I'm not going to chunk up into little chunks to spread out through the week because it was all over the map.
Yes, yeah. And you found that, a bit of inside baseball here, no one really cared for the split ups, did they?
Not for the 10-minute pinball. No, you guys actually liked the full episode.
Yeah, so that's good data to have. That saves.
But
saves
well, I'm
Chris
still
a lot
gonna
of
try.
time.
No, I'm still gonna try it. It's really easy. All I just got to do is this week I will have to remember to actually hit the record and stop button.
Oh yeah, that'll help.
Because I did like 3 attempts where I kept on forgetting to hit record.
Oops.
I was like, okay, gotta start over again.
That's good. You have a practice run. It's like a rehearsal on those tables.
There's a lot of rubbing the head and patting the belly. And look, I didn't even say that.
Oh
correct.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I did have one request where it was, oh, hey, show strategy and everything. And I'm like, well, I can do that on Bally Williams tables, but I can't do that on any of the other stuff because I suck at most of the other stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, hey, like we said, next time we come back, it'll be after the new year. That'll be me, among other things. It'll be my annual tradition of my movie rundown for things I saw in 2020. I'm sure a lot of you saw a lot of crap just like I did because you had nothing better to do. So that'll be a major feature next time. And we're still waiting, obviously, on any other pinball news that'll drop, although I don't believe we're going to be hearing much. Not for next week, but once everybody's back in business after the start of the new year, I'm sure that things will be dropping because we should have been having CES the second week of January. So all of those products that the companies would have been presenting, they're going to be probably presenting virtually. So we'll have to see what emerges with that. So that's kind of a farther glimpse forward into what's going on. So apart from the movies, Jared, what other things will we be talking about?
Stuff and things.
Can't beat that. All right. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.
See you later.